Hey guys, it's Mr. Wolfie, and I am here today to talk about all the freaking crazy things that are going on in the world today. Okay, so I haven't made a video in a while because I haven't felt compelled to really about the whole, Donald Trump's president now. The inauguration went pretty smoothly, nothing crazy happened. I expected there to be chaos in the streets, and there were. There was riots, there was protests, the Women's March happened, and that was kind of weird. It's mostly just, uh, you know, white women talking about genitals and stuff. Which can you imagine if there was a men's march and that was all they talked about? I would just like that to happen one day because I want to see the utter chaos from the people that attended the women's march. From when that happened, and the funny part is a lot of people are angry about the women's march in general because it excluded certain groups and made white women look like the main figureheads. And actually that's true because the only people really up there talking, the only people anybody took notice of was the crazy white women that were just making too much of a scene, like Madonna and Ashley Judd. No one can argue that they weren't absolutely insane unless they're also absolutely insane. Like, if any reasonable person watches that nonsense that they were spewing and is like, okay, I can't get behind, wanting to blow up the freaking White House. But I'm sure there's a lot of absolutely bonkers people that actually are thinking that exact thing and have been. You can look pretty easy and find, Trump gets a lot of death threats, which is common for presidents. I guarantee Barack Obama got plenty from crazy people. So, whatever. There's insane people out there. That's all that you can really worry about there. But it's just the protest culture in general has been bothering me, because it's so inconsistent in a lot of ways, and it's so broad and nonsensical. It's okay, so let me just break it down to the point where I'm fine with people protesting as long as they're not rioting or otherwise breaking protest related laws. That's no sense in making things happen illegally here. People try to stand behind the First Amendment as a protection against everything, when in truth there's problems with the way the First Amendment is regulated, which is true. The Congress and the government in general regulate the First Amendment in similar ways to how they regulate the Second Amendment. You can't just say and do anything and not get in trouble for it. You should be able to technically say anything you want, not get in trouble for it, but they still find ways to make laws that limit your ability to speak freely. And what can you do? People get mad about it. They're like, oh, well, we shouldn't do that. But then those same people are like, well, you should have to be regulated and registered and need permits for firearms when the Second Amendment says you shouldn't. So it's, if these two groups ever got together and were smart and logical, then stuff would get accomplished. But sadly it won't, because everyone is an idiot, I think. I don't know. Not everyone. I hate broad brushing, but there's so many crazy people out there, and they're the only ones you hear talking on the internet, on the TV, on anything. What was that? Just anywhere you look, it's bonkers because of just this the way the world is these days, I guess. I don't know. So another problem is all these. Okay, so the biggest thing right now, and the real reason I thought I needed to make this video is the so-called Muslim ban is in effect. Which that phrase was coined by a lot of people that are just pure anti-Trump. They were never going to give him a chance, and so they were looking for ways to make him look bad. So, just like with the March for Science, they chose a name that sounded like you would be ridiculous to argue against it. And to give a little backstory on that, there's a march coming up called the March for Science, but it's really just the same people as was in the Women's March, and they're talking about stuff that is not scientific fact or science-based in any way. So my theory is that, similar to the reasonableists in Parks and Rec, they named themselves something that you sound ridiculous for criticizing. Oh, the Science March is stupid because science is stupid, I'm guessing is, what they're thinking people are going to try to say. And then they could just be like, oh, well, you hate science. Well, no, I hate people pretending to have something to do with science. So anyway, it's the same process. It's not actually a ban on Muslims. At no point in any of the executive orders does it say, you know, a religion is banned from entering the United States. It's all about nationality. Now, that raises its own ethical problems, and there are problems with it that I'm going to get into in a minute, but framing it in such a way makes it an identity politics thing, again, and makes it two sides button heads and never getting anything done. And what's going to end up happening is this is going to go through without any opposition because you sound ridiculous for protesting it when it's not what it says it is. You're protesting something that is not on paper. That doesn't even, like, how can you do that and get anything accomplished? What you should be protesting is the fact that it is a nationality ban or a nationality waiver that slows down people coming in to and from the country in the first place when there's no evidence that that would even do anything to help anyone. Like, if anything, it's a huge waste of money because enforcing it and regulating it is going to be very complicated. So people should be talking about the fact that it's a waste of taxpayer dollars to block people coming to and from the country in such a broad, strong fashion, like extreme vetting, which it makes. I mean, he wrote all the paperwork is there that tells you exactly what they're going to do and what their goal is, but people are refusing to read it apparently. You know, if you read it and you understood it, you would know that what you're saying it is and what it is are two different things. And if you read it and understood it, you would realize that what you should be arguing is not what you're arguing. You should be saying it's a waste of taxpayer dollars. It's not going to help anybody. It's not going to stop terrorism. It's not going to slow down people dying from like Muslim extremists. It's just going to create a hassle for anybody involved in regulating this sort of thing. And the protesters are doing the same thing. So it's dumb. People are dumb. People never focus on the things that actually mean are worth focusing on. And that's why I'm totally disenfranchised with Democrats and Republicans. And you know, like I'm glad Trump won over Hillary, but I'm not glad Trump won as an aspect of I wasn't any more excited about him being president than Hillary Clinton. If you know what I'm saying. Like, I agree with a few of the things he's all about. Like, I definitely want America to flourish, and I want the focus of the government, if it's going to focus on anything, to be the good of America and not the good of the rest of the world and not blowing up people in the rest of the world and all that nonsense like, you know, past regimes have been. We need to focus on making ourselves stronger and better without damaging and destroying other nations in the process. And he said a lot of that, and whether he meant it or not is irrelevant. It's what he said, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't vote for him. But Hillary, her only thing was, I'm not Donald Trump. So what she was saying is, I don't care much about America. I'm not focused on American good. I'm talking about the good of other nations and the good of people in America that are not the majority of Americans. And that was her whole story, was I'm the opposite of Trump. And it reflected poorly on her as a candidate and on the Democratic Party, and Trump won as a result. Bada bing, bada boom, there you are. And there we are in a potential heap of mess trouble. So, congratulations on that, not focusing on the things that need focusing on, people. This is your fault. I will probably have a lot more to say after I eat. Anyway, guys, peace out. Love you guys. This has been Mr. Wolfie.